Hi everybody. This is going to be take two of this live because I had to delete the last live because somebody showed up at an inopportune moment and I didn't want to dox myself. So yeah, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are doing beautifully and everything. I'm going to give you guys a progress report. It's kind of a progress report, kind of like brain dump sort of thing. Like it's a combination of the two. So like just bear with me for a second. Um, First of all, I've come back from London. I came back from London on Wednesday. It is now Sunday. My place is a complete tip. It's really, really bad. Even for me, it's really, really bad. But it's just I've needed time to decompress. So I've only kind of been doing little bits around the house. I've mostly been doing laundry. Um, but yeah, like it's just an absolute ball of chaos in here. And ordinarily I'd be like, oh my god, it's not clean, and now I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I'll do the little bit that I can, but I'm not gonna kill myself over it. You know what I mean? It's impossible to actually live in your own place and not create a mess, right? And sometimes going out of your way to be too perfect, or trying too hard to maintain control over everything in your life, it's just a detriment to what you're trying to do. So that's why I'm just like, no, like, I don't give a fuck. Look, I will clean up a little bit every time, but I'm not going to kill myself over it. I'm not going to do it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that what I talked about in the last video was that I learned a lot from the grief of losing 3 loved ones in a year. So first, there was my mum at the beginning of the year, which was really, really hard. That hit me the hardest. The second loss that I had was my grandfather in August. So mum was in January. Granddaddy was in August. No, granddaddy was in July. His funeral was in August. And then my great auntie was in December. So there are 3 losses that I've had in the space of a year in 2024. 2024 was not a great year for anybody. And like, I was no exception. 2024 was such a shit year. And 2025 is going to be even worse, but you'll get to that in a second. I realized the lessons that grief has really, really taught me. And again, I said that in the last live before I deleted it. The thing about being a targeted individual is that it puts you in kind of a unique space, because most human beings grieve every day, but they don't grieve on a level that a targeted individual grieves, or even a marginalized person grieves. There's a grief that comes from being completely marginalized every day of your life. There's a specific grief that comes with that. And, you grieve every day, but you don't really have time to process it, because first of all, it happens every day. So it's like the grief is being piled on. And the second thing is that you've got shit to do. Like, you can't be wasting your time grieving over the fact that you're being physically tortured and psychologically tortured, that you're being killed off through your nervous system every day. You can't afford to like spend all your time every single day grieving over that shit. You've got stuff to do. So the position that being immobilized by pain puts you in, or, not immobilized, what's the word for it? I think it's immobilized. Oh, debilitated. When you find yourself being debilitated by pain, or you find yourself grieving over lost loved ones, as a targeted individual, you get the space to not only grieve over the people that you lost, or to grieve over the people, left behind that are grieving, that you love, that you still care about. It doesn't just give you the space to grieve over that. It gives you the space to grieve over your experiences as a marginalized person, as a targeted individual, as all of these things as well. It gives you the space to grieve that too. And once you go through that space, of grieving for people that you've lost, or loved ones that you've lost. I don't know how it is for everybody else, but for me, after grief, it becomes very difficult for me to go back to pretending to be something that I'm not. It becomes very difficult for me to go back to being fearful, to go back to being repressed, to go back to being, to go back to caring about the same things that I used to. It's very difficult for me to go back to that. Even with November, that happened because I stopped caring about the same things that I used to care about. I stopped caring about the sectioning. I stopped caring about being arrested because you know what? I'm literally fighting for my life, as our God knows how many other TRs were literally fighting for our lives. At a certain point, I stopped caring about what it looked like to people. I stopped caring about the fucking campaign, the Mad Woman campaign. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't give a fuck anymore because that's the space that grief put me in. You kind of, when you have that space to release your emotions and let all these feelings go, you stop being afraid of being vulnerable. You stop being afraid of that. And that brings me to one of my next points about desire. After you've been grieving, you kind of become less fearful of going after what you want. You kind of give yourself room to know what you want and go for what you want, even small things. And the thing about desire that nobody talks about is that desire makes you incredibly vulnerable. When you're in a constant space of wanting, there's a thumbscrew that can always be turned. As a targeted individual, you're not just grieving over, what's actually happening to you. You're grieving over over lost potential. You're grieving over the things that you wanted, that you could have gone after, but that was prevented by the gang stalking. You're grieving over that too. You're grieving over lost desires. So, when a loved one dies or you're being put through debilitating pain, the grief that you carry daily, all of that comes out. And then after that happens, because you're less afraid to be vulnerable, you're less afraid to want things. Now you're less afraid to want things because even though you won't always get what you want, it's not the end of the world if you don't. So you're less afraid to be vulnerable. You're less afraid to cry. I cry like at the drop of a hat now. And every single time I always feel better for doing it. Even when the gang stalkers tried to make out like, oh no, she's crying again. Babe, like I get the chance to clear my emotions. Gang stalkers don't get the chance to do that. I'll get to that in a moment though. But like I cry at the drop of a hat now and I always recover. It's like crying does not kill me. That's the best thing that could ever happen to somebody, to a targeted individual with borderline. The best thing that can ever happen to you is that you get the space to release intense emotions that you feel every single day. That is the best thing that can ever happen to you. Because once that happens, and the more it happens, the more you realize, you know what? This isn't so bad. It doesn't feel great in the moment. But after you've done it, it's a powerful release that allows you to be yourself with just a little bit less fear than before. So there is power in grief and debilitating pain. There's a sort of power in it. There's a perverse power that you're given as a targeted individual that makes you less afraid to be you. And it makes you less afraid to go for what you want, even if you don't get what you want. It makes you less afraid of those things. And because you're less afraid of those things, it has a knock-on effect. Suddenly, now you're not so focused on trying to take control of everything or be in control of everything. Because now you understand that you being you will always get you through it. Like, you being your genuine self will always get you through. So those are the effects that grief and pain can have on people that are already marginalized, or people that are already, targeted individuals. We don't realize the power that we have in processing our grief and in processing our pain. We don't understand the power that we have in being able to release it, not hold on to it, not alchemize it. We don't realize the power that we have in being able to release that pain. We don't seem to understand the power that comes from that, because we're taught in this society that whoever cares least emotionally wins. And if you cry, you show you care. If you complain, you show you care. If you want something, you want anything from this world, you show that you care. So in this world, caring is seen as weakness, because when you care about something, that's somebody else's thumbscrew to use against you. But hear what, right? If anybody has that mentality in the first place, they are more vulnerable than you, and not in a good way either. Trying to find a person's thumbscrew to use against them, it means that that person is more desirous than you are. It means that that person is less satisfied than you are. Why are they trying to find your thumbscrew? Why is it their business? Why are they so obsessed with you to try to find a thumbscrew to use against you? Why is it their fucking business? If they're truly happy and their desirous nature is a state that they constantly want to be in, why do they need to find your thumbscrew to make you unhappy? If they're so happy and their lives are so wonderful, I'll tell you why. Because being in a constant state of desire makes you vulnerable. And the more you want and the more you get what you want, is the more you feel like you have to protect that. Otherwise, you don't know where you'd be. When you are constantly in a state of desire and you constantly get in a state of getting what you want, you're constantly in a state of being exposed. So how do you handle that? You try to make everybody else want what you want. You try to make everybody else desire what you're trying to accomplish. You try to make everybody else want what you have, want what you want, when you don't even want it, because it's not satisfying you. That way, you can use people's thumbscrew. You can use that as a thumbscrew to get what you want out of them and get the reaction that you want. Only when you're a TI, and the longer you're a TI, and the more you grieve, and the more you go through pain, the less it works. Why do you think older TIs are subjected to debilitating pain the more they get older? It's because these emotional tactics, after a while, they just stop working. They stop working against people who are old enough to know better. So that's the thing, about being a TI and being in grief and pain. Like, we try to avoid grief and pain because we're taught to avoid it. So when we can't avoid it, it makes us feel awful about ourselves. But then in that repression, we don't understand the powerful position that feeling grief and feeling pain authentically, without repressing it, without trying to alchemize it, we don't understand the powerful position that can put us in. Because what you're essentially up against are people who never get what they want, or almost never get what they want, compared to people who constantly get what they want. And the people who constantly get what they want, they're always angry, or they tend to be angrier than most. They're always angry. They're always got gripes about something, or the people who deny their pain, like I used to, they always got gripes about something, or they're always trying to represent themselves as being more emotionally steady than they actually are. But the haves and the have-nots, the haves are 9 times out of 10, if they're completely aware of the way the world is, they're always angry. The haves are always angry, and they're always defending themselves against something. They are always at war with the rest of the world, because they have everything that they want, and because they're in a constant state of vulnerability because of it. Whereas the have-nots, in the grief and the pain that we are subjected to, it gives us the room to actually express emotions that we are taught to repress. And when that happens, the fear of what could happen if we become more like ourselves, that fear is diminished somewhat. So there's power in your position as a targeted individual, even during the worst possible times where there is grief, debilitating pain, and loss. There's an opportunity for you to know what it is to live without fear. And it gets to a point now where you can feel comfortable wanting things. You can feel comfortable in being vulnerable enough to cry, vulnerable enough to complain, vulnerable enough to want things. Do you know how you can tell that I'm actually getting better? It's if I'm crying more than usual, if I am complaining more than usual, like not online, but in real life, if I'm complaining more than usual, if I'm crying more than usual, if I'm singing and stuff like that more than usual, if I'm expressing myself more than usual, that's how you know I'm improving internally. If I'm wanting things more often, if I'm wanting things and I give myself the opportunity to be angry when I don't get it, that's how you know I'm getting better as a person. That's how you know I'm improving. Because the thing about negative emotions is that when you completely try to ignore them, those negative emotions come back with a fucking swerve and they will swallow you whole. But if you allow a little bit of negative emotion to seep in, if you allow yourself to not get what you want, at least some of the time, if you allow yourself some disappointment in your life, it strengthens your character to the point where if you actually have to face disappointment and you actually have to face loss, you're actually immunized from the deeper effects of grief and the deeper effects of loss and the deeper effects of pain, because you've immunized yourself against that by allowing a little bit of negativity, a little bit of whining, a little bit of complaining, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You allow a little bit of that into your day. By the time something really serious comes up, or by the time something really, really awful happens, you're able to process it and become resilient in a way that escapes most people. That's why I thank fucking God. You know what? As unhinged as I look in a lot of those fucking videos that I made when I was younger, I thank God for past me. I thank God for her, because if she didn't do all those fucking rants on her Twitter, not only did they age fucking beautifully, but they gave me the chance to release a little bit of that negativity every day. The perps used it as a thumbscrew, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes it worked. But what it gave me was the opportunity to immunize myself against more serious events. It gave me the opportunity to be a little bit less fearful. That's what that gave me. I'm so grateful for that. And having grief like over the past 2024 with 3 losses under my belt, it has released so much from within me that I'm great. And I'm so grateful for that. It's made me a new person. Sometimes when death comes, that's when you have a little bit more life in you. And that, it seems like a horrible thing to say, but sometimes that's what happens. Death creates life. Sometimes death is needed in order to create life. Now, I don't like the way it's happening. Black elders are dying everywhere. And anyone who's a TI and who is part of a marginalized group knows why that's happening. A lot of our elders are being murdered. They've been murdered for the longest time. But sometimes what death does is it fortifies new life into the people that are still around and still here. And grief and debilitating pain can sometimes do the same thing. Sometimes it can take away the things that you really don't need and leave you with the things that you really do need, leave you with the things that are actually important to you. And once you have that, you can build on those things and you build a strong, solid foundation that is not easily broken at all. It's not easy to bend, and it's definitely not easy to break. It's damn near fortified, the stuff that you're left with. And nobody talks about that because it's not proper to say these things, but it's the truth. It's the truth. One turn deserves another, even if that turn isn't what you expect. So yeah, that's the power of grief and debilitating pain. There's power in it. The reason why, as a targeted individual or a marginalized person, you're put through grief is to try to take away your power. But sometimes it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more power you try to take away from someone else, is the more power you lose. And again, my perps, people in privileged positions, they're used to getting what they want all the time, and they do get what they want all the time. But increasingly, it means nothing. Because again, being desirous all the time, it puts you in a state of constantly having to defend what you've gained. And that gets exhausting. That gets exhausting real quick. So I talked about me. When it comes to the gang stalking, I haven't made progress on finding an electrician yet. Truth be told, I'm not very good with my finances, and gang stalking doesn't help either, because they always engage in financial abuse against you in some way. So I haven't been very good with my finances, but once I get my finances underway, I'm definitely going to get an electrician, and he's going to come over and see the usage of the meter from the week that I was away in London. There's already proof that electricity has been used. So either way, somebody's been stealing from me. So that's definitely proof that somebody's been stealing from me. Because if I'm over in London for the last week, and you can see from my social media exactly where I've been, then how is electricity being used in my house when I'm not here? Like, bro, come on. Not everybody's built stupid. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, so once I get that done, I can do my thing. I can get proof and evidence that people have been breaking in here, even though I've already got proof, honestly. So that's the progress on that. Oh yeah. Oh, should I say this? Should I say this? There was a friend of mine, or like an ally of mine in Brighton, who asked me what my issue was with certain people in my community, and I showed them the video, the BBM video, the Black Brighton Market video. And then somebody else came in and intervened and said, well, like, if you felt that way, why didn't you say anything? This, that, and the third. And I said, look, it's bigger than the market. I have screenshots of everything that I've told this person. They haven't looked at it yet. That's up to them if they don't want to look at it yet. But I have screenshots of everything that I've said to this person. So now, basically, my community in Brighton know about the gang stalking, and they know that they have saboteurs in their midst. So it's not just the people in Woodingdean that know about my targeting now. It's not just white people who know about my targeting. It's everybody. Now everybody knows. Now everybody knows. And it will be interesting to see what happens after everyone knows what's going on. Now, I probably shouldn't have said that, because the last thing I want to do is put anybody affiliated with me or anybody like who knows me in a precarious position. That's the last thing I want to do. But the truth has to be spoken at the right time, but it's got to be spoken. So now everybody knows about the gang stalking. It's not just people around here. That's your single biggest weapon as a TI. I don't care how crazy you think people find you. You fucking tell everybody. I told everybody in Willesden Green, everybody that I knew in Cricklewood, you fucking tell everybody. I don't care how crazy they say you are. You tell fucking everybody. And if they wanna, make themselves look damn stupid by calling you crazy, then they can go right ahead and do that. Because their words are not going to age well. As everything gets worse around them, and as they find their protests and their activism on all sides, by the way, not just the black side, the white side as well. When protests are infiltrated on all sides by gang stalkers and political strife ends up getting worse, their words calling you crazy is gonna look real fucking stupid. I guarantee you that. My tweets, as embarrassing and unhinged as they looked, they aged like fine wine. May I tell you? Like fine wine. I don't fuck about out here. Tell everybody the fucking truth. Because I don't have anything to lose. And because I don't have anything to lose and I don't have anything to be afraid of, now again, I can go for what I want. I can afford to be vulnerable. Because again, I've got evidence backing me up. So what is there to talk about? What is there to argue about? And I still got that footage that I've got to retrieve, by the way, with me and an ex-fucking Navy microwave weapons expert. So yeah, let them call you all the names they want. It's not going to make an impact. And speaking of name calling not making an impact, again, these perps in Woodingdean have been trying to turn my thumbscrew. These perps, these neighbors right here have been trying to turn my thumbscrew by saying dumb shit and hoping that all the dumb shit they say, or at least one of the dumb shit they say, is going to have me online ranting and stuff. Again, a little bit of negativity. It's immunization. I'm not bothered. If I feel like talking about them, I'll talk about them. If I don't feel like talking about them, I'm not going to do it. But yeah, it's just the same shit. It's the same shit over and over. Saying, oh, I can't say this because then she'll hurt me. And I'm like, it's boring. It's boring. It's boring. Nobody fucking cares. It's boring. Everybody knows about your gang stalking now. It's boring. Hang it up. And again, these people, they get everything that they want. They have their families backing them up. They get everybody harassing me online on their behalf. They've performed curses and hexes to get me scared I don't know what the fuck they did. I don't know what the fuck they did. They probably didn't do anything and they probably just said that because they thought I'd be paranoid. I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know, bruh. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what goes through those cunts' heads. I really, I really don't. It's just boring though. It's boring. I can't even be bothered to dignify anything that they've said. It's just boring. It's so tedious. But I have to admit, I realize the reason why I don't want to go out is sometimes, it's not because I'm scared of anyone, because the perps know I'm not scared of them. It's just that I don't want to see my own murderers. I don't want to see the people responsible for slow killing me. Like, they make me fucking sick. I don't want to see them. And that's like the only reason I don't go out. It's not because I'm afraid. They want me to be afraid so bad. I don't know what it is with these people. Well, no, I do know what it is. It's because they constantly get what they want and they can't handle not getting what they want. So anytime they don't get what they want, it feels like fucking torture. That's exactly what's wrong with them. But, that's exactly why they want me scared all the time, because, they're constantly in a perpetual state of being scared because they always get what they fucking want. So that's why they do that. But as for me, like, the perps know I'm not scared of them. They've tried to intimidate me in a number of ways, and they know I'm not scared. They know I'm not intimidated by them. But the reason I don't go out when I'm in Brighton is because, like, I thought it was because of my possessions. I thought I was safeguarding them. When really, like, I thought I was safeguarding my possessions. Come to find out, Fabienne was safeguarding Fabienne. She wasn't safeguarding any of her possessions. She wasn't safeguarding any food she had. Like, that was an excuse. My real reason for not wanting to go out, as I found out yesterday, I don't want to see my fucking murderers sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to see them. Sometimes I don't want to hear them. Sometimes I don't want to hear these people brag about killing my mother. And sometimes I don't want to hear these people brag about potentially killing my other relatives. Sometimes I don't want to hear these people brag about killing me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the looks on these people's faces knowing that they're killing a person. I don't want to see that shit. It's pathetic. The looks on their faces are pathetic and repulsive. I don't want to see it. I just don't want to see that shit. So I don't go out. 9 times out of 10. And I realize that's why I haven't been going out anywhere. I don't want people in my face being proud of their fucking shit. And trying to fucking, like, say good morning, like, oh, good morning. No. Shut up. I don't want these sick people fucking bragging about, like, the control they think they have. They're weak. I don't want to be surrounded by weak people. It makes me sick. It doesn't make me afraid. It makes me disgusted. Not even angry, just disgusted, bro. I don't want to see that shit. But now that I know that, if I ever find myself in a frame of mind where I feel like I can't go out somewhere, I'll be like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? What's going on? What's going on? Why are you like, you clearly want to go out. Why are you staying in? What's going on? Talk to me. And I'll be like that in my own head. Sometimes I say it out loud too. What's going on? You're protecting you. So what are you protecting you from? What's going on? As a TI, it's good practice to do that. Maybe not out loud, but like up here maybe. Again, when you immunize yourself with a little bit of negativity, little bit, not a whole leap, not a whole leap, little bit. You understand? Little bit. When you immunize yourself with a little bit of negativity, the rest comes a little bit more easily. That's it. That's it. For all my life, I've been trying to run from negative stuff because, like, I was bombarded with it because of people doing me dirty. But now, like, little bit. Nothing wrong with a little bit. And that's exactly what allows me to kind of, get through my day. What else was I going to say? I think I've done my new moon in Shravana. So I'm probably going to upload that on Tuesday. Like the day before the new moon. So, yeah. Probably get a reading then. So, I love you guys so much. Peace and blessings. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, my darlings. Move, slow connect, move all the way. Sorry.